Hello, welcome back. So in the previous section, we added our logout endpoint. And before moving ahead to testing our endpoints, so let's quickly add our refresh token. So what is a refresh token? This concept is very famous in our JWT. Token have an expiry, right? So it can expire in say 15 minutes or in 7 days or 30 days. So deciding the expiry date is very inconvenient. So for that, we have the concept of token refreshing. So in this session, we will learn about token refresh and we'll create a new endpoint to refresh the token. So let's get started. So let's learn about the concept of JWT token refresh. Okay. So JWT authentication has a challenge related to token expiration, right? So we can set an expiration in our token. So deciding the JWT expiry duration is a balance to strike. So if we have very long expiry, then it may increase the risk of others accessing the same device and user account. And if we have very short expiry, then it's very inconvenient for the user, right? So they have to always log in. So long expiry means a risk to the system. Short expiry means inconvenient to the user. So how to mitigate this? So the concept is to have a refresh token. Okay. So how does this go? So the client sends its stored access token with the request, and if the access token is expired, so in that case the API will respond 401 unauthorized, and then if the API rejects the token 401 unauthorized, then the client uses the refresh token to get the new access token. That means when the client log in initially, then at that time we will provide a couple of tokens. One would be access token, the other would be refresh token. So now if any of the endpoint returns with 401 unauthorized, then in that case the client can go and refresh the token. Okay. So after the client refresh the token, now the client has a new token, then the client will retry the request with the fresh token. Okay. And if the API still responds with the 401 unauthorized, then the client prompts the user to log in for a completely new access token. I hope I'm able to make you understand. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's implement our token refresh in our application. So this should be pretty simple. So let's go to our user.py. And here, let's start with by importing a couple of things. One would be create a refresh token. So let me just simply copy. Okay. And the other could be to get a JWT identity. So let me edit here. So now you can see like the import line is getting extended. So I can wrap this inside a bracket. Okay. So now I can say I can move this to another line. So it will be much more cleaner. Okay. So now it's much more cleaner to see, right? So let me reindent it. Okay, so we have imported our create refresh token and get JWT identity. So now let's go to our login endpoint. So we have here. So now instead of creating a single token, we'll go ahead and create two tokens. One would be access token and the other would be refresh token. Correct? So let's create a new variable refresh token. It's equal to, we'll use a create a refresh token, and here we'll use simply user.id. Okay. So please note that now we have a couple of tokens. We have access token, we have a refresh token. So now we need to identify if the access token is a fresh token or not. So if you go back to our scenario, so here the client gets a 401 unauthorized, it refreshed the token. So now the client has a new token, right? So we should be aware that if that new token is a fresh token or a token created using the refresh token. So to handle that, we need to add fresh equal to true in this create access token. Okay, so this will show that this access token is a fresh token every time the user logs in. So now we have this refresh token. Let's add it here, and we'll say, let me just copy this. Refresh token, it's equal to a refresh token. Cool, right? So now we have a refresh token. Okay, so now we can have certain endpoints which may require the fresh token, right? For example, in the case of our product, so let's say when we try to delete a certain product, we want to ensure that the user is deleting using a fresh token, not with a stale token. Okay. So in that case, we can simply add fresh equal to true. So this means that I will be able to call this API only with my fresh token or with the token which is not yet refreshed. Okay. Because I want to stop the user from making any such actions which could impact our database, right? So in that case, I'm using fresh equal to true. So when I add this fresh equal to true here, so that means this may raise some exception for JWT. So it can say that this token is not fresh, right? So now we need to handle that. So let's add one more decorator here. So here we can say @JWT dot, and we can say needs fresh token loader. So now let's define a function token not fresh callback. Okay, so this will give us a JWT header and a JWT payload, and let's add it here. Now I can simply return a JSONify. So let me just copy and paste this. And I can say JSONify message, the token is not fresh. And I can say here fresh token required. Okay, so whenever the user try to perform this delete request with the old token, basically with the refresh token, in that case our JWT will throw an exception, and that particular exception will be handled by this callback, token not fresh callback. And here we'll say that the token is not fresh and the fresh token is required. Cool, right? So now let's go to our user endpoint and let's add a new method view to refresh our token. So let me just copy this and I'll edit here, and I'll say refresh, and I'll say class token refresh. It will extend method view. Okay, when we have this /refresh, so this should be a post request because we will get something from the client. So let's define a post method, and here we'll get a self. And now in order to refresh my token, I should make sure that the JWT is required, right? And then I can say the rate JWT required, and to refresh a token, I should make sure that the existing token was a fresh token. So I can say fresh equal to true. So now let's get our current user. So we can say current user is equal to get JWT identity. And now using this, I will get my current user. Okay. And now let's create a new token. Is equal to create access token. And here let's have identity current user. And now this is not fresh anymore. So we can say fresh equal to false, right? So when we create an access token earlier, so we say that fresh is equal to true because this was the first time the user logs in. And now since we are refreshing the token, so we say that fresh equal to false. Cool, right? So once we create a new token, we should make sure that we revoke the previous token. So we can say JTI is equal to get JWT, and from here we can get our JTI. Okay, and then we can add in our blacklist and say add, and let's add the JTI. And now let's return our access token. So basically this will be a new token and the message should be 200. Cool, right? So far we have learned why refresh token was introduced, and also we try to understand what could be the client flow for refreshing the token, and we also understand when can we use our refresh token. We should never do any like creating or deleting operation by using our refresh token. Okay, so by saying that, I think I should add this when we create a product, and also when we update a product. So let's say fresh token, and we should do the same with our shop. So let's go to our shop, and we should do in our create shop, right? And also we see that whenever if there is a, in this case, we said that we need a fresh token. So if the token is not fresh, then an exception may be thrown by our JSON web token. And for that, we are handling that type of error here, token not fresh callback. So in this case, we are responding with our 401. And after that, we also added a new method view /refresh, basically that will refresh our token. And also when we create a new token, we make sure that we revoke the earlier token, right? So I think this is from this session. So in the next section, we will learn how to test our endpoints using Postman. So see you there.